All right, so we've got a story for you today that comes straight from one of our subscribers in Assam, India, and wow, we just had to share it. This is a firsthand account of a party that went completely off the rails, a night that went horribly, horribly wrong. I mean, think about it. What's the worst that can really happen at a party? You run out of food, the music is awful, maybe, just maybe, your parents show up and shut it all down. Well, this story, it takes that question to a whole other level of terrifying. 15. That's how many friends we're talking about. And these 15 friends were about to find out the absolute worst thing that can happen when you pick the wrong, and I mean the wrong, place to get together.
So let's back up. How did 15 friends wind up in a situation this bad? Well, like a lot of bad stories, it all started with a pretty simple plan.
You know how it is. You've got this big group of friends and you all want to hang out. But their houses were all scattered, separated by these really dense forest areas. So they needed one central spot, somewhere everyone could meet up.
And they thought they found the perfect solution, this old abandoned water plant house. I mean, it seemed perfect, right? It was remote, it was private, it was exactly what they were looking for. But that isolation, the very thing that made it seem so ideal, that was about to become their absolute worst nightmare. And as soon as they got there and settled in, that perfect spot started showing its true colors. And let's just say they were pretty unsettling. The main room they were hanging out in was right underneath this big, looming water tower, and it had a weird vibe from the start. It wasn't totally empty. There were personal things just left there, almost like the people who lived there before had vanished in a huge hurry. It was that first little detail that just felt off.
So they're having dinner, everything's quiet, and then suddenly the silence is just shattered by this sharp metallic sound. A spoon, a fork, something just clattered onto the floor. And in an old, quiet building like that, a sound like that really gets your attention. They tried to just laugh it off, but then it happened again. Another utensil falls. And right after that, the one light bulb they'd managed to get working starts to flicker, plunging the room in and out of darkness. Yeah, the mood changed fast.
And this is where the group kind of started to split. The friends who weren't drinking were trying to find a logical reason, oh, it must be cats, or maybe a dog got in. But one of them, a guy named Joy, he wasn't buying it. He had this feeling it was something else entirely, something otherworldly. What started out as a few strange noises inside the house was about to escalate into pure, undiluted terror. And it was coming straight from the darkness of the forest, right outside their door. So a few of the friends had gone out to buy more cold drinks. On his way back, one of them, Sahil, was walking totally alone down this dark path that cut through the forest leading back to the tower house. He just stopped dead, because staring right at him from the pitch-black woods were two glowing eyes. And let me tell you, this was not a cat. This was not a dog. This was the first terrifying proof that they were absolutely not alone out there. And that's when total panic just erupted. Sahil and his friends sprinted back to the tower house, shouting, trying to warn everybody inside. The only thing they could think of was getting back into the quote-unquote safety of that building. But the moment they slammed that door shut, the chaos just followed them right inside. They could hear footsteps circling the room from the outside. Windows started creaking open and then slamming shut all on their own. And the main door started to groan, like something was trying to force its way in. So they're trapped. And just as their fear was hitting its absolute peak, the tower, it unleashed its final terrifying fury. So imagine this. You're in the middle of this supernatural chaos. The house is literally coming alive around you. And then, who do you think pulls up outside? Yup, their parents. Someone had tipped them off that something was wrong, and they'd arrived to find their kids and shut the whole thing down. But they got there just in time to witness the horrifying grand finale. This moment was just pure pandemonium. Everyone, the kids, the parents, they all saw it. Strange figures of women running away into the woods, doors and windows smashing by themselves. And then, silhouetted against the sky, a mysterious figure appeared on the very top of the water tower. And then it jumped, landing with this unnatural thud right outside. And as the parents were rushing towards the door, one last, horrifying sound echoed from inside the house. A heavy, sickening thud from the floor above them, as if a body had just been dropped from the ceiling. What happened next was just a frantic escape,
and a lesson that I guarantee is going to stay with them for the rest of their lives.
There was no time for questions, no explanations. The parents, having witnessed all of that impossible chaos, they just grabbed everyone and got them out of there as fast as they could. Those frantic back-to-back phone calls they'd been getting suddenly made a whole lot of terrifying sense. The kids were not just making this up.
So that night, 15 friends learned a very, very hard lesson. Some places, they have a history. Some places hold on to things. And some places are just better left completely untouched. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What was actually in that tower house? And what did it want?